Okay, we're going to discuss the epithelial tissue self-quiz number 2. This is just another practice for you to prepare for your quiz and for your practical number 2. In the first picture here, the one with the questions 1 through 3, identify this specific tissue. I'm going to pause and let you try to answer it. Number 1, the specific tissue is simple columnar epithelium. Number 2, identify the big tissue category. Number 2, the big tissue category is epithelium or epithelial. Number 3, identify the structures at the end of the arrows. Number 3, the structures are called the nucleus or nuclei. Going down to picture here, number 4 through 6. Number 4, identify this specific tissue. The specific tissue is transitional epithelium. Number 5, identify the big tissue category. The big tissue category here is epithelium or epithelial. Number 6, identify the structures at the end of the arrow. That structure is called a nucleus. Number 7 through 9, identify this specific tissue. Number 7, this specific tissue is simple squamous epithelium. Number 8, identify the big tissue category. Number 8, the big tissue category is going to be epithelium or epithelial. Number 9, identify the structure at the end of the arrow. Number 9 would be the nucleus. This picture here, 10 through 14. Number 10, identify the specific tissue. The specific tissue would be stratified cuboidal epithelium. Number 11, identify the big tissue category. Number 11 would be epithelial or epithelium. Number 12, identify the structure at the red arrow. Number 12, that structure would be the nucleus. Number 13, identify the structure at the blue arrow. Number 13 would be basement membrane. Number 14, identify the cell at the green arrow. Number 14 would be nucleus. Going down to our tissue here with questions 15 through 18. 15, identify the specific tissue. The specific tissue here would be stratified squamous epithelium. Number 16, identify the big tissue category. Number 16, the big tissue category would be epithelial or epithelium. Number 17, identify the structure at the black arrow. The structure at the black arrow would be basement membrane. Number 18, identify the cell at the black arrow. Number 18, the cell at the black arrow would be the stem cell or basal cell. Moving on to the picture here with questions 15 through 17. 15, identify the specific tissue. The specific tissue would be simple cuboidal epithelium. Number 16, identify the big tissue category. Number 16, the big tissue category would be epithelium or epithelial. Number 17, identify the structure at the black arrow. Number 17, that structure would be the nucleus. Moving on to the picture with questions 22 through 27. 22, identify the specific tissue. The specific tissue would be stratified columnar epithelium. 23, identify the big tissue category. 23, the big tissue category is epithelial or epithelium. Number 24, identify the structure at the red arrow. Number 24, the structures at the red arrow are the cilia. Number 25, identify the structure at the blue arrow. Number 25, the structure would be the basement membrane. Number 26, identify the cell at the green arrow. Number 26, that cell at the green arrow would be the stem cell or the basal cell. Number 27, identify the cell at the yellow arrow. Number 27, the cell at the yellow arrow would be the goblet cell. Moving on to the picture here with questions 28 through 32. Number 28, identify the specific tissue. Number 28, the specific tissue would be pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Number 29, identify the big tissue category. Number 29, the big tissue category would be epithelial or epithelium. Number 30, identify the structure at the green arrow. Number 30, the structure at the green arrow would be cilia. Number 31, identify the cell at the purple arrow. Number 31, the cell at the purple arrow would be the goblet cell. Number 32, identify the structure at the yellow arrow. Number 32, the structure at the yellow arrow is the basement membrane. And then we have the answers. I will try to attach this to the video. But now let's go back and discuss how we got those names. Okay, in the first picture, this is simple columnar epithelial tissue. So there are one row of nuclei here. That tells you it's simple because there's only one row of cells. So right here would be, somewhere around there, would be the dividing line between the epithelial tissues up here and the underlying connective tissues. So There's only basically one row of nuclei here. Every once in a while you'll get an oddball, but most of it's one row. It's very, very neat, and you can see the very distinct border at the top. This border is called the brush border, and it's called by the microvilli. You do not have to know that on your lab exam, but could be on your lecture exam. So again, you know that this is simple columnar epithelium because it's got one row of nuclei, which makes it simple. It has tall rectangular cells, which makes it columnar. In the next tissue, this specific tissue is your transitional epithelium, and you know it's transitional epithelium because of the scalloped edges of the cells. They're very puffy looking. Okay. So that puffy scalloped edge is going to clue you in that this is transitional epithelium. The next one here, this is simple squamous epithelium. You know it's simple squamous because of the fried egg look. So the fried egg, this would be the egg white, this would be the egg yolk in the center. So the simple squamous epithelium looks like a fried egg. The little yolk part in the middle would be a nucleus. In this tissue here, this specific tissue is going to be stratified cuboidal epithelium. Remember, it's stratified because you can see multiple rows of nucleus or nuclei in here. So that means it's more than one layer, therefore it's stratified. The cuboidal, remember cuboidal, you're going to look for circular shapes or these oval shapes. That clues you in that this is going to be cuboidal. So again, this specific tissue is going to be stratified cuboidal epithelium. Moving on to the next one. In this tissue, this specific tissue here is stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified because you can see there are just layers and layers and layers of cells in here. Squamous because if you look at the top, this is the air up here, so if you look at the top cells, they're very squashed looking, so you get the squamous, okay? So stratified squamous epithelium. This picture here, this specific tissue is going to be simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple because as you look around the oval right here, or if you look around one of these circles, this one's real clear here, you can only see one row of nuclei. One row means one row of cells, therefore it's simple. And it's cuboidal because remember I said you're going to look for these circles or for these ovals. If you see circles or ovals, that's going to clue you in that this is a cuboidal tissue. So simple cuboidal epithelium. In this picture here, this is your stratified columnar epithelium. Stratified because you can see multiple rows of nuclei, and if you see multiple rows of nuclei, then you have multiple rows of cells. Columnar because these cells are very tall on the top. Stratified columnar epithelium can be with or without the cilia on top, and you can or cannot see goblet cells. The picture here is going to be your pseudostratified columnar epithelium. In this one, you know it's pseudostratified because it's extremely chaotic and messy looking. There are nuclei all over the place. There's no pattern to it. There's no rows. Nuclei are just scrambled up all throughout this tissue. That clues you in that this is going to be pseudostratified columnar epithelial tissue. That completes this video, guys.